Barbarian Hut. The card that has had the lowest usage rate in Clash Royale since the beginning of time is a very fun card to play, and I'll be pairing it with some of the low usage rate buddies of Mirror and Clone, but sadly, I'm no longer special for playing Rage. So my general strategy for playing this deck is just Barbarians. When that doesn't work, you play Barbarians. If they want to be aggressive, you can play Evolved Barbarians and then Mirror Barbarians. And then if they play a spell, you can clone those Barbarians. And then obviously you play a couple Barb Huts. And by that time, you should have won the game. And now this strategy works 100% of the time, 50% of the time, 5% of the time. So now that we've got the strategy ready, I think it's time to hop into a game. And first of all, I've skipped the boring parts. I need to get rid of that princess with the Dark Goblin, and he makes the mistake of using his rocket and his log. So now I'm going to go in with about 20 barbarians on this side, and I'm not going to tornado that princess yet because he's going to play his bloody goblins, and he logs again, which is a crap log. Now he's BMing me because he's getting absolutely destroyed by about 30 men. I don't think he likes it. He might. He's a Clash Royale player. And he does a desperation rocket and misses at the end, which is pretty sad. So starting off this next game, I actually get bored very easily and my attention span is not that high when it comes to Clash Royale, so I just go in for the Barb straight away, even though I know it's a horrible play. And now this Dark Prince is a problem, so we're going to take about 2,000 damage on this right tower, but it's okay. So anyway, what's the main point of this challenge? Well, to have fun, to play the game differently, and to reaffirm to my deluded brain that I am in fact special. So the goal is to get 12 wins in Classic Challenges. Yes, you may have noticed I put an S on the end of Classic Challenge because I am horrible at this game and I could not get above 3 wins with this deck in one go. So why should you watch? Well, I imagine if you're still watching Clash Royale, you like to see at least 200 Barbarians on the screen at once, but not through some fake TikToker versing his best friend. We've all seen that. But once again, my brain says I need to be special and do it in a real match. So we're now getting into the good part of the video where the Mega Knight and his Dark Prince, which are arguably 2 very good counters to my Barbarians, are jumping on my tower and went down to only 5,000 health. But now that he doesn't have Mega Knight in cycle, he's only got Royal Delivery and Electro Spirit. So we're going to go in for our Evolved Barbarians. We're going to put our Dark Goblin a little bit further back just in case he delivers. And the Electro Spirits, Wizards. So after that, he's got no counters to clone, so we can actually clone everything. And even if they take down the Barbarians here, the 2 Dark Goblins actually rail his tower, and he's now loving us apparently, even though he was emoting at us earlier, so good game. So another element of this deck that I love is the split lane pushes and the unexpectedness of the Barbarians. So you can see here we tornado everything in, he plays a stupid little prince, and on the other side we actually managed to get a clone Rage off, letting me take most of his tower. Now obviously there's a couple games that I'm not showing well because the reason is I'm saving them for an awesome loss montage at the end. You may have also noticed me doing a goblin emote because every time I get mad, someone using a splash card or a spell, because they're just supposed to let me win. Not use a firecracker that lasts the full 2 minutes of the game, sniping my Barbarians that I need to use 5 elixir to kill, and by the time I do that, they've placed down another evolved one, which I need to Rage plus Mirror Rage, and then that doesn't even take it down, which means it takes my tower, and I feel like the Goblin emote was extremely necessary. Sorry, I missed actually commentating on that last little bit, but it was a fun game. And now I'm even more mad because when I went back to record this game, the replay wasn't available, and this guy was actually a half-decent player, and he was using Mega Knight. So it was a good game, so I'll do a little reenactment for you now. Sorry to ruin that amazing edit that I made, but the next game, this guy was just really stupid. He had a bowler, but he decided to play his little prince, which didn't have an ability ready. And then I just take his tower, and then the next 30 seconds are pretty boring, so I'll skip them for you. Now, you'll notice a lot of patterns with these kinds of videos, because it doesn't really rely on me outplaying my opponent, it more relies on my opponent making a mistake, or sometimes there's an outplay, but yeah, so I get to use like 500 barbarians. This guy played poison at the very start, which was a horrible idea. And look at 2 dark goblins take down a knight. But anyway, arguably the biggest challenge with this deck is coping with my loss of ego when I lose to some 5,438 trophy kid. Well, in beginner-friendly terms, beginner, named Fire Wizard, using Mega Knight, Evo Firecracker, Fireball, Wizard, Bomb Tower, Log, Royal Delivery, Skelly Dragons, Arrows, Flying Machine, Phoenix, basically every flying card, Poison, and pre-release Evolution Bomber all in one deck. And the mental toll of not only losing, but being BM'd by a guy who probably hasn't won a game in like 2 hours makes this a really hard challenge. But then you beat some 8,000 trophy kid, so without enough splash, so it's all good. How the hell am I throwing this game, by the way? I was absolutely winning this. I end up losing a tower here. I'll skip that part, because that was horrible. Anyway, he takes tower, so we go for Evo Barbs plus Dark Goblin, and he just does not play his knight on the Barbs for some reason, which lets me take the tower and win. On to this game, our opponent is playing a very annoying Little Prince, Fireball, Goblin Giant, blah blah blah. He's got Evo Recruits, blah blah blah. So we actually Barb hut other side because I am just insane and I love it. He says wow, which I like it when people get surprised. He does a very late Little Prince ability. So what I'm thinking here is, even though he's got Evo Recruits in hand, we're just gonna go Barbs, and he arrows us. That's fine, because now he doesn't have enough elixir for recruits. But he doesn't have, he's got his Fireball, but he doesn't have elixir for it, so we can just clone it, which was a bit silly, but we almost managed to take King Tower before he Fireballs. Look at how much damage that did. So I won't go into too much detail, but we nearly end up losing this game, but it's okay. But all we need to do now is Mirror, Tornado, and then Rage, and we've won. This next game was arguably the most boring game I've ever played. He had a lot of counters, but he just wasn't very smart, and it just let me Evo Barb's clone at the bridge. And yeah, I kind of just won, and it was pretty boring. The next game was Expo, and I actually baited his log out here. So I wasn't really going for that side, but I still got the Expo down to low enough health, and he had absolutely 0 elixir for that left side push, which was just Barbarian spawning out of dead Barb spawners, which is pretty funny. I do actually let him lock on. But it doesn't matter. He uses his log again, which is pretty stupid because I can now just clone, and if I really want to, mirror clone, but I don't here for some reason. I rage, and we end up picking up the victory pretty easily. And now this game, this was a very interesting game, as this guy, he was also using mirror clone, but for some reason he decided to use it on archers of all things. Now, I don't really have log. I didn't have Tornado and Cycle either, so I had to cycle to Rage, and I had to try and get all the skeletons at once, which I did. And he's, of course, got Evo Archers, Little Prince, and Firecracker, so this was very annoying. But he didn't have too many spells, and that ended up costing him. I ended up taking his tower with Evo Barbarian's Dark Goblin Clone Rage. He yawned at the end, which he was probably tired, not toxic. And this player, he just gave up before the match even started. So I was able to get like a gazillion Barbs on his tower, but for some rude reason he Earthquaked at the end, so I couldn't have all the cloned Barbarians alive at the end. And now this player, he had Bowler and a couple air cards, but I wasn't really paying attention, and at the end I realized he didn't even have a spell. So at that point I just started Dark Goblin cycling, because he didn't have any counters to that. So 4 Dark Goblins, we'll get 6 in a second here, and you're about to see how powerful 6 Dark Goblins are. No rage even, and they just absolutely shred the King Tower. And I didn't have actually enough storage to record all my losses, so here's just like 10% of them. Just to end things off, this is some 2022 gameplay where Rage was old Rage and Barb was old Barb. Now this, in my opinion, is the best heal spirit ever played. And look at that, heals up every single Barbarian, and we go on to win the match, obviously. Anyway, I'll stop talking now and you guys can enjoy the Barbarians attacking.